play Fire Emblem, you always have to think about where you move your units. Should I move this guy here? Should I hold this choke point? Should I use Warp to finish the chapter in one turn? What if you make a mistake and put a unit in range of an enemy who will kill him? Well, good news. 3 Houses has you covered. You can turn back time with the Divine Pulse, or, with the Movement Combat Arts, you can give them even more options for your strategies. But in the back of my mind, I always wondered, could you beat the game only moving with combat arts? So I set out to make this video, which ended up causing me a lot of suffering. It's been quite some time since I last made a video. I haven't made one since... Wait. It's been that long? Wait. There's a new game out? Oops. Hopefully this video will make up for it. Now let's get into the rules. Number 1. Units can only move using combat arts. However, I will allow the usage of Warp and Rescue. Rule number 2. I will be playing Hard Classic since I feel maddening might be too stressful for this kind of run. Number 3. I will be using DLC and will recruit units from other households. I plan to recruit a lot of them, so I probably won't tell you every time. The game is also on New Game Plus, because that's the only way to get all my units the combat arts at the start. The free DLC stat boost items will not be used. Number 4. At the end of every chapter, if no one died, I will spin a death wheel and kill one of them off, because even if maddening might be too stressful, hard might be too easy, so this will give an extra challenge. And with that, let this nightmare begin. That last one quickly becomes a mistake. We begin with a heated debate. Then we dream of a little girl, wake up and immediately tell our dad about it. Outside we encounter the 3 musketeers, and proceed to get roped into serving the church. For this playthrough, I went with the Black Eagles, because like Edelgard, the Crimson Flower route is short. In the monastery, I used the New Game Plus function to let everyone master all 4 beginner classes, giving them all the movement combat arts. And then we start with Chapter 1, and oh, there is no way to change a unit's angle with combat arts, so I am forced to move forward with only Edelgard and Hubert. It takes some time dealing with everyone this way, but eventually I complete the chapter with no issue. Which also means it's time for the first death wheel spin. Yay! And it looks like Linhardt will be the first one of many to go. Give it up for Linhardt, everyone! After that, Cassware screwed up the only lead to investigation, and I jump into Chapter 2. And all of my units are spread out. Guess you can't beat this game only moving using the combat arts. Well, it was short, but thanks for watching, and be sure to smash that like. Okay, so I'm going to continue under the rule that at the start, I can get my units into position to traverse the map. This formation I call the Cube. Worship the Cube formation, for it is your friend and will not betray you. I end the first turn getting into position and having Linhardt get torn apart by bandits. It's a wonder how they don't fire me after this. With the power of the Cube formation, I can easily, albeit slowly, make it to the end of the map and beat the chapter without difficulty. Which means we move on to round 2 of the Wheel of Death. Congratulations, Dorothea! Here is your wonderful prize! At the start of Chapter 3, I recruit the Ashen Wolves to add more bodies for the wheel. Chapter 3 is very open, which makes it easy to complete, but also means we're already on our 3rd spin of the wheel. And looks like it's bye-bye, Bernie. I, for some reason, don't have footage of her death, so here's a reenactment. Splendid. Nothing of note happens before the start of Chapter 4, so I jump right into it. This chapter, it really seems to have it out for me. So for starters, there is a 25 turn limit, making any strategy except a frontal assault impossible. However, the greatest threat in this chapter, the Death Knight, is smack dab right in the middle, blocking my forward path.
But wait, the Death Knight won't move to attack you on hard difficulty. Just move around him and you'll be fine.
Well, I would like to, but the opening is only 3 spaces wide, meaning if I try moving forward, one of my units will be left in his range, causing him to get triggered and massacre all of my units, who at this point are too weak to deal with him. I checked. Then what did I do, you ask? Well, surprisingly, I did not have to resort to cheating. Step 1. Make Happy draw back Caspar. The sudden contact with the opposite gender will have him shove her out of the way in pure disgust, thus getting Happy out of range. Step 2. Have Balthus shove a girl that's over a foot shorter than him into the range of the Death Knight. Step 3. Have Happy draw back Edelgard, saving her from this toxic masculinity, and also death. Having 2 units safely across means I can quickly reach the boss and throw an axe in his face, thus awarding Byleth, who contributed nothing this chapter, a fancy new sword. Edelgard then tells me about her family, but I don't remember asking. And now that ordeal is over with, we move on to the 4th wheel spin. No! Why him? Why couldn't it have been Caspar? Ugh. Rest in peace, Ferdinand von Eyre. Again. Sylvain's brother is throwing a temper tantrum in a tower and won't let go of a pointy stick, so the church sends us to calm him down peacefully. And, god damn it. A pillar is blocking our path, so I can't send people up vertically, thus making this run once again invalid. In the end, I was forced to cheat. I still moved them with combat arts, but I used their movement for turns so I don't get stuck. This was done out of necessity, and I don't plan to keep doing it. Anyways, boss dealt with, forced to give the stick away, and then wheel spin. Well, if there's any saving grace to all of this, it's that Anna is the one to die. I trained all my units to become armored knights, not because I plan to use them that way, but it puts their base defense up to 12, which is great for some squishier units. Next, I piss off Edelgard, and Manuela is dead. These early chapters really don't like this challenge. Chapter 6 has another turn limit of 25. It also has some tight corridors that stop my progression. At the start of the chapter, I tried to play with the challenge in mind, but I believe it's impossible. Well, at least for me. I'm sure one could prepare a mage with Thrisis? Thrisis. This thing. To one-shot the Death Knight from the starting area, but I don't have that ability. So, much to my chagrin, I had to stop the challenge mid-level and play the game as it was intended. Disgusting. Byleth lays the smackdown, and we save Flame. Next chapter will be the big old house battle. But to make up for my cheating, even if it was impossible to progress otherwise, I decided to spin the death wheel, not once, but twice. I hope you will all forgive me with this. And it looks like it's the schemers that are the ones to go this time. The new chapter starts, and my house is looking kinda small now. All of these maps seem to have something against the cube because it'll only let me move single file across these bridges. Oh well, luckily the enemy will come to me, so I don't have to cheat this time. After most of the enemies ended up killing each other, I finished off the last 2, and the chapter's complete. The wheel landed on Manuela, but she already died in a cutscene earlier, so I guess we're getting off away scot-free. Pressing onward, Ramire village is burning and everyone is killing each other, and Geralt's reaction to this is like a dad catching siblings fighting. Luckily for me, this map is straightforward, and you can either get all of the loot and save the villagers, or just rush the boss. I opted for the latter. Still failed to save any villagers, though. Back at the monastery, I recruit even more bodies for the wheel, then give it a spin. With much sadness, I kill off Petra, leaving me with only Caspar and Edelgard as my original students. I then do Lorenz's paralogue, which is easy because I can just turtle and not do anything. At the monastery, we have the dance competition. Who did I choose, you ask?
Eagle House!
Nonsense.
Edelgard has a house meeting, so we can promise to all see each other again in 10 years. But honestly, this cutscene is pretty hilarious with just the 3 of them. It's just so awkward. The next chapter proves to be uneventful, except my father died. Whoops. Anyway, wheel time. And now it's the lovable Raphael who gets the sweet embrace of death. Edelgard tells me to get over my dad's death. I do! And with the power of anime, my hair changes color, which lets me beat Chapter 10 with relative ease. Hanuman is next on the chopping block, and Edelgard ascends as Emperor. Rhea shows us her secret hideout, but Edelgard reveals herself as the Flame Emperor, which Caspar is very shocked by. With the power of tsundere lollies and a magic stick, Edelgard is defeated, and the game now forces me to choose between my student and a crazy lady telling me to kill her. I, of course, opt to side with Edelgard, causing Rhea to have a perfectly reasonable reaction. With Dragon Lady on the loose, we escape, and I spin the wheel again. Luck being on my side, it landed on Flame. Some might argue I should have taken her off the wheel at this point, but I have a perfectly thought-out explanation on why it's okay. At the Empire's fort, Caspar made the horrible decision to follow us. He had his chance to run away and he blew it. Edelgard gives a speech and asks Caspar if he's willing to die for a cause he doesn't understand. He of course agrees, and we begin our assault on the church. This chapter is what you get when you ask someone out, and they end up stabbing you 37 times in the chest. It's hard, okay? Normally this chapter wouldn't be that bad, but I can't fit the cube in the sides. I can, however, send out 2 people, and they would just be in range to deal with Gilbert and Flame. Plus, the path straight ahead is wide open, so when I'm done, my group can just charge blindly forward. This was my original plan until the enemy got reinforcements and Seth decided to just charge me. I swear, I did not even know this was possible. But if you take too long to kill the generals, Rhea will show up and send all of the enemies to rush you. Suffice to say, I was so horribly unprepared for this that I actually restarted the chapter and rethought my plan. The new plan was to turtle at the start of the map, calling them names until they got angry and decided to charge us. Playing defensively pays off, and after taking them out, we rush Rhea. She calls me trash, I use appropriate retaliation in response, and we complete the chapter. I had forgotten to spin the wheel this time, but Byleth was presumed dead for 5 years, so I'll count that. After the time skip, I meet up with Hubert and Caspar. I get the Death Knight as a unit, and I begin the first chapter of Crimson Flower. In this chapter, all you have to do is kill Judith. Easy, right? She's right in front of us. Wrong. This chapter sucked. A few turns in, and a general which would have been Leonie spawns on the west side of the map. If I kill this general, Judith will run the fuck away, and it will be impossible for me to chase her, so that forces me to keep the general alive as he wails on Caspar and Balthus. My main force has an easy time dealing with the units in the way of Judith, which also includes Ignatz, which, fun fact, is the only unit that I didn't recruit for this run. Not because I hate him or anything, I actually forgot he even existed. I thought I recruited everyone until I saw him on the map. Anyways, he still dies, but here's the problem. By the time my team makes it to Judith, Balthus and Caspar are almost dead, and I've run out of healing items for them. I've tried so many ways to keep them both alive, but after using so many divine pulses, I ran out, and Balthus bites the bullet. I tried to one-shot Judith so Caspar could survive, but Lysithea missed. Twice. Caspar ends up dying, which means I've run out of black eagles to kill off. But luckily, 3rd time's the charm, and Lysithea kills Judith. This chapter broke me. After spending so long to keep units alive, it ended up being all for nothing. On the more humorous side, with no more black eagles to have a speech with, 2 random guards join in to listen to Edelgard instead. In the downtime between chapters, I watched some more supports, and noticed that Balthus rose from his grave to tell me he didn't want to fight Hilda. Well, I had some good news for him then. Claude planned some scheme or something, and we attacked Dejru. Shamir fucking dies, but I really don't care at this point. All units are just fodder to help me get to the end now. I spend an annoyingly long time dealing with the reinforcements before I can safely move on. Also, Hilda killed Sylvain. Don't worry, she died too. And I get Lysithea to murder Claude. Yes, I did not spare him. No one will be spared. The next chapter opens up with Seth and Flame wanting to run away because Byleth saved Flame earlier. And yet they still plan to set us all on fire and burn us alive. That being said, this was probably the easiest chapter post-time skip. I didn't even lose a single unit. I tried to kill Flame with a volley of arrows, but much to my dismay, because it was Byleth who personally tried to murder her, she gets away. This also means Seth will live now too, no matter what I do. This is quite an unfortunate outcome. But blood must be spilled, and if I fail to kill the enemy, that means I must kill one of my own. Spin the wheel! Constance's death leaves me happy. Skipping to the next chapter, we attack one of the most defensible forts so we can kill a big titty enemy lady because she makes this face. We start by killing Felix's dad and some random old guy, and I learn why this fort was so strong, and that's because they have lined the floor with Legos. But we tough out the excruciating pain on our feet and manage to complete the chapter with no losses. The basement dwellers did not like that we killed their waifu, so they blew up the fort, and Dimitri, who is slightly less crazy than in his own route, discusses the battle to come and how they will win. Meanwhile, I spin the wheel to kill one more of my units. God damn it, no! It would have been fine with literally anyone else. The only character that I have now that has any decent defense is Edelgard. Everyone else is just a bunch of squishy marshmallows. Anyway, we get a quick view of all the factions, and begin the penultimate chapter. In this chapter, movement is slowed due to the terrain, but that doesn't really affect me. But the other gimmick is certain units after a few turns will transform into a demonic beast. Not much I can do to stop it when you move at my speed, but let's listen to one of my favorite voice lines in the game spoken by this random soldier.
Glory to the flag of the knights! Good fortune to his majesty! Fortune to Vargas! Ah!
My man didn't have to put that much effort into that line, but he did. My first attempt at this map ended in disaster, so I restarted and re-equipped my units to have an easier time. Honestly, Farkas' units were not that bad. Things did take a turn, however, when Rhea nuked Edelgard. In the end, I sacrificed Leone to take down Rhea. It upset me to have to do this, not because I care about Leone as a character, or that she was a good unit. No, it's because now my cube formation is broken, thus locking my movement options. As this was happening, my other units were battling to do, but none of them were really strong enough, so I warped Edelgard over to put down the smackdown. With only Dimitri left, I was almost done, but then I tried fighting him, and got Ingrid killed. Oops. None of my units available could reasonably kill Dimitri, so I cheated once again, this time not due to the level being impossible, but because of my own incompetence. I was not spending another hour to try and beat this. You can all shame me in the comments, I deserve it. Byleth hits the funny number on Dimitri, and cutscene Edelgard dealt the finishing blow. Before the last chapter, Edelgard tells me I'm the only one left, which is true after I got all of her friends killed. Rhea 420 blazes the city, and we begin the final chapter. My grand strategy here is to directly rush through the middle. This plan, however, has the unfortunate side effects of killing almost all of my team. Annette, Lysithia, Lorenz, and Felix all die horribly. With what little team I'm left with, I manage to kill Gilbert. Mercedes manages to get a miracle, saving her life, but then Marianne and her die later that same turn. I am now left with only Edelgard and Byleth. Seeing as I can't progress and can't be bothered to use the Divine Pulse or restart the chapter, I ended up resorting to the movement I used back in Chapter 4. Surprisingly, Cyril goes down easy, and Rhea was a pushover. I wailed on Rhea for a few turns as Catherine, her most trusted soldier, watched safely from a distance, eventually taking her down. We have an anime moment, which causes Byleth to die from cringe, but he gets better at the cost of his Super Saiyan form. And so, Edelgard gets to rule over a pile of her friends' corpses. But you must be wondering, with so few people left, who did I marry? Well, I knew who it had to be. They were with me since the beginning, cared for me, and protected me throughout the game. Yes, that's right. I married Alois. Unfortunately for me, he's already married, so our union will have to be a secret between him and me. And once again, the game is now complete. I feel a little bad with the cheating done in this playthrough, especially towards the end where I could have gone back. But then I remember how much I hated this playthrough. Seriously, don't do this. It's not fun, it's painfully slow, and I had to overthink all of my strategies. My motivation to do this playthrough died somewhere in the middle. It took me months to find more to continue it. But I had to see this through to the end. If you hated the video, hit the dislike button. If you didn't hate the video, feel free to do anything. But I would appreciate it if you left a like and a subscribe. And with my final thoughts wrapped up, I hope to see you all again in the future. Bye.
In peaceful days, I fear the edge of dawn, knowing time betrays. Daylights pass through colored glass in this beloved place. Silver shines, the world dines, a smile on each face. As joy surrounds, comfort abounds, and I can feel I'm breaking free. For just this moment lost in time, I am finally me. Yet still I hide behind this mask that I have become. My blackened heart, scorched by flames of force I can't run from. As I live out each peaceful day, deep in miles on the path, I chase your shadow. I don't feel a single drop or the ground below. Then you turn to me and I stop before I know. And the lie upon my lips, I let it go. Cross my heart, making vows I know will be betrayed. A sad girl's please live only for a breath and then they fade. Don't ever take back your kind hand, less precious love slip away like time sand. Only we will know all that was lost, scars that we can't erase, show us life's true cost. The blue moonlight cuts across our sight as pure and clear as a ringing bell, reaching for us in the night. As the wind comes my thoughts, I hold strong